The Optimist Show is about news, information, entertainment, and activism. Welcome to the Optimist Show podcast, and we want to welcome all of you wherever you are this time, and thank you very much for joining us as we continue to keep hope alive. The Optimist Show brings you the information as it is, and so we are glad to be with you today so that we can share together. Please like and share, subscribe to our channel, The Optimist Show, keeping hope alive.
Get ready, Grenada. Swim Week is back from April 22nd to 26th, 2025. Whether you're a beginner or just looking to build confidence in water, we've got fun and engaging swim sessions just for you. Sessions run from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. daily, with 1-hour classes for children aged 5 and up. And yes, adults are welcome too. We're making waves across the island with classes in St. Patrick, St. Andrew, St. David, St. George's, St. John, Petit Martinique, and Carriacou. Don't miss out. Register now at www.getgrenadaswimming.com. Still have questions? Call 404-5237 for more details. Swim Week 2025 is proudly sponsored by Silver Sands, Budget Marine, Ting, Spice Island Marine, SIFH Group, and Ocado. So what are you waiting for? Register today via www.getgrenadaswimming.com.
Well, yet another opportunity that we have to learn at the feet of our guests, our teacher, our lecturer. I'm talking about Kenisha Douglas, who has been very, very faithful in explaining to us the issues about climate change. And more so, not just about the climate change, but about our responsibilities. And so it's my pleasure again to welcome Kenisha to this final part in the series, in the 4-part series, looking at how do we protect the environment, and what are the issues of climate change going forward. Kenisha, welcome back.
It's an honor to be back and to go through the last series of this 4-part series. But before we go into the 4th part of this, or the 4th aspect of this topic, I just want to do a brief recap of what we have done thus far in the first 3 series. The first one, we talked or focused on climate change. And one of the things that I did from the start was explain or let people know what is climate change. What's the meaning, or what's the ideology, or what's the trajectory behind climate change, and kind of divulge into some of the things that happens with climate change, climate change / global warming, how it affects us and the environment, coupled with our hurricanes and storms that we see happening, rising sea level and everything like that. Then we talked a bit about what are the things that will get affected once we have this natural disaster occurring, or what we have disasters, how it will affect everything across the board, from our agriculture system, our tourism system, our livelihood, and everything like that. So we went into that and brought up not data, but brought up information that could connect the dot to what we were speaking about, so people could understand these are the things that we faced it, and it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's with us, but we have to make some changes. We have to make some decision of how we will go about doing this. Then we kind of went in from there after spending a few minutes on climate change, the effect of climate change, and what are the things that can happen. The third one, we went into how do we protect our environment today for tomorrow. And that I kind of indulge or divulge into the renewable energy aspect. How could we transition to that? How could we use our natural resources like the solar and wind energy? And also to kind of put out some information, try to reduce some of the consumption of the electricity and everything that you do at home by switching to energy efficient appliances, energy efficient light bulbs. All these things can reduce the effect that we see put on our communities and our world and our system. Also, I spoke briefly about the coastal ecosystem, how we protect our coastal ecosystem. And under that comes our coral reef, what we do, how we protect our coral reef, because a coral reef helps to protect the coastline from storm, from waves coming in, and also part of the biodiversity of our ecosystem. And I even mentioned about the ocean becoming warm and the acidity. And once the acidities that get to a certain level, our marine life will start taking a beat. It's going to start dying from that, because nothing could survive in a warm situation unless they are specifically for warm climates, and nothing could survive in an acidic environment. So these are some of the things that is going to happen, and how crucial it is for us to find ways and initiatives to protect our marine life. I also talked about the mangrove, protection of the mangrove. The mangrove helps to stabilize our shorelines and to provide some habitat for marine life as well, because fish go there, and what is going to happen, they're going to spawn and they're going to do what they have to do and then go back out, and so that helps with that's why mangrove are there. And also we know in Carriacou, for example, that's the oyster bed. If we protect the oyster bed, it could be also a way of protection and a little income for us. But that's the mangrove is there because for the carbon, to help carbon sink, so we don't have all this CO2 in the environment. Touch briefly about the agriculture and fishery, how we have to think about smarter ways, not just smarter ways, but climate smart ways of doing agriculture practice, how we go about doing agriculture, how we have to try to start investing in drought resistant crop that is not going to be, for better word, needing so much water to grow and to survive. How are we going to improve our water management system and also practice agroforestry, which is a big thing in many other countries. So this is all to help reduce the carbon footprint and to help conserve water and the soil resources we have. Fishing. I spoke about overfishing. Probably then some implementation has to start coming and regulating the fishing habits and practice that goes along, because once you have overfishing, then it's going to be less fish or marine life to supply the community and the society. Then I also talked about waste management and pollution. And we have to be more proactive. We have to be more disciplined in the way we go about just throwing our bottles, throwing our cans, throwing our container we eat our food, because that's part of pollution. That is part of pollution. We are contributing. Whether you think you throw one bottle, your one bottle makes a big effect, because some animals, something could pass and eat that or consume. So there's a trickle down effect to your one bottle thrown out in the bush, as you think. And also about the recycling aspect of our products that we use that can be recycled, and the compost program of using your bits that you peel your banana, you peel your potatoes, what are your pumpkins, use the scrap from that, put it in a little bucket or dig a hole or something and bury it there and make compost. And then you're going to use that same compost. It'll become like manure for your plants if you're doing gardening. So there are many ways that we can go about doing that to reduce the environmental impact from waste. One of the things that Omi to talk about, even in our homes, the products we use in our homes with all this chemicals and everything helps to contribute to the system, because when this thing gets out into the atmosphere, it goes and then it becomes a whole accumulation. So we have to be careful of some of the things we use in our homes, and some of the products we use are heavy with chemicals. So it's not just a small, you might think, oh, that has nothing to do with me, but it contributes to the problems we're seeing now. I also talked about building resilience to climate change, how we go about building societies, trying to prevent a lot of the things from happening. And one of the things I talk about education, that we have to educate ourselves and don't wait for the government to come with program. You seek those information that you want. The internet, the worldwide internet is available. Google is available. Anything you want to know, you just type it in, then you get. So self-education is very important in this. And the disaster risk reduction and adaptation, that would help us in the long run for economic costs related to disaster and investments that we might have to make. Most times they say, oh, the government will have to do that. But we can also do it in our own little capacity to help to minimize and to safeguard our communities, which is essential. So that's where I just want to pick up from there, going into the fourth. I mean, all of this requires funding, money, to address the bigger issues of climate change, for some of the things that I talk about, the disaster reduction. And I believe, for example, I don't know much about the other Caribbean islands, but I believe that is some of the things that has been done in Grenada, Caribbean, pretty much by the now Prime Minister, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, with under the leadership, under the ministry of Honorable Kieran James, who is responsible for the climate and the environment. So some of these things are been done, but a lot more have to be done to combat and to make sure that we in that place to withstand whatever else may come. So that was part 3 ending, and now we're going into our individual and collective responsibility, which is kind of coming off the heels of part 3. As I say, we both, everyone individually and collectively, have an effort. We all have to come to action plan, action oriented. We have to do something. It is very crucial. We all hands on deck. We all come together. It's not just one person. It's not just you. It's just not me, or it's not just the other person. It is all of us collectively. Individually, we do what we have to do in our small parcel to help. Collectively, we come together on a wider scale to make sure that more work is done. And that is very crucial to ensure that our environment is protected and to promote the positive. We have to have a positive attitude. We have to love our environment so much that we want to make sure that the children or our children and other generation will be able to enjoy what is of this environment that's been depleted, that has been in decline. So we have to have positive attitude and start thinking differently how we are going to approach it. And one of the things I need to say, my dear people, friends, if someone come to you after seeing you doing something that is not in line in the environment we want to have and we want to see, don't get offended and cuss them out. Because I know the norm is the easiest thing for us to do is to cuss them out. Who do you think you're speaking to? Who she thinks you're speaking to? Who you think you're speaking to? It might not be as nice as I say it, but let's be real. That's the kind of attitude most people have. We do not like to take, like, not even a correction, but we don't like to take constructive criticism or someone said, okay, you shouldn't be doing this, the danger it possessed or some of the things could happen from it. Instead of saying, okay, could you tell me what it is so I'll know so I wouldn't do it another time, we will go on the defensive part of it and start cussing out that person, telling them everything that we don't know about them, that even the individual don't know about themselves. So we have to change that mindset. It's all about changing the mindset. It's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen tomorrow or the day after, but small adaptation, step by step. In order to build a house, you have to start to dig first get a plan of the kind of house you want. And after you get that, you put it into you get the contractor who, the best bidder, get the best buck for of your money. And then you do a foundation, and then you lay the stuff and you start going up, and there's different phases. So that's the same thing in this situation. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen if you want it to happen. So you have to want this. So I'm just saying, whenever these things happen or programs like that come out or there's initiative, do not see it as who they think they're talking to. We all have a part to play in protecting our environment. Because when the storm and the hurricanes and all this thing come, the wildfires and all this thing come, it's not just me. It's not just you, Coy, or Artry, or so it's going to affect. It's going to affect all of us. So we all have a role. We all have a collective responsibility. So some of the ways we can do that is lifestyle choices. And when I say lifestyle choices, it's not to say, how you go about, but some of the things you do. I mentioned about in your home, your habits, lifestyle choices, the things that you do, reducing energy at your home, probably supporting more local and sustainable food sources and using less imported stuff, less canned stuff and things like that, things in plastic. Now there's bigger part of most of the world, eco-friendly products. Yes, I'm not saying it might be cheap in the region that you are, but small steps, eliminating certain things will help. So if you used to use it at 50%, you could probably put it down to 49.2 or 48.3. I mean, if you want to use a fraction or if you were using a half, then you could probably use a quarter or 3/4 or whatever it is, but a reduction from the norm, from the normal thing that you were accustomed to. So these are the habits that happens after a while. You start practicing, then it becomes so easy that you don't even remember you started to do it because you now get accustomed to it. But it takes small steps, as I say, baby step. You have to learn to creep before you walk. Okay. And another thing is the Caribbean is so dependent on tourism. It's one of the major industry. We depend on the visitors that play a huge role in bringing foreign some of our finance, and that would help with other things because the hotel look forward to having them, and it's not because just the finance, but people get work. So it's a cycle. So we dependent on them. But so we have to also let them know they have a role to play by respecting our local environmental practice and reducing the carbon footprint. We are smaller islands. We're not as big as the metropolitan countries like the US and things like that. I was looking at something last week or sometime this week, on Paradise Beach. And I saw it and I just closed my mouth and I said, boy, oh boy. There were some people with boats doing, as they say, the wheelie, and probably there's some people there and they were kind of showing off. I assume that's what it was. Oh, I could do this with my boat, and they were going there right where people were bathing, and that's a big problem and a danger there too, because who tell you could have lost control of that boat and what could have happened? Then that boat has an engine with a propeller. There could have been somebody snorkeling, diving, and they didn't even know, and they came in contact with that, what would have happened? Not even that. The gas and the oil goes back into the sea. So then when all this happened, who is the one who's going to be affected? Who is the one who's going to come in contact with that? Is the people, the community, the inhabitants of the country, or the citizens. So there are a practice and lifestyle that we have to start coming up to speed with to help with the sustainability, the consumption, the things that we use in our home and we just throw out outside and throw it out. The things with the chemical, we just think when we finish, just throw it out. Not knowing there's always a small amount in those containers that could get in the places that it should not get. So we have to start practicing that. And another thing as we get education. No matter what you do in life, education is a big part, a major player in it. If you're not educated in something, you would know how to operate or what to do. So we, as individuals and as a collective group or a body or community, we have to find ways to start advocating for our environment, where we raise awareness in our communities, how we need to protect. We probably need to have like community groups again to bring this about. We need to protect our environment. And one of the best selling point is Beryl or whatever other hurricane that passed. Look what it did. So these are some of the things that we could do. Another thing is we need to start planting more trees. We probably need to do in the cleanup aspect and instead of littering, making sure we clean up, going about wherever you see litter and clean it up. Because besides the litter being there, this thing after a while it build up, it brings rodents. Rodents bring disease. Where do these diseases come back into your home? So there is always someone is going to be affected by it. So we got to start doing cleanup campaign again, cleaning up our coastline, clean up the areas that we think that garbage shouldn't be and everything like that. Planting trees. I've said it time and time again. Trees plays an important and integral role in our lives because they are the ones that takes in our oxygen to give us in the day. Trees give us shade. Trees help to kind of make the temperature a little less. So if it's hot, the trees now is going to be there for the wind to come. So the coolness is going to come. It's windbreaker in the time of storm. A tree helps in erosion. Water and soil erosion. The roots of the trees anchored, they would help the soil from moving. So we need to start planting back. And I said that before in the program, the first two series, I believe, or the first series. When we cut down these trees to build our big houses, plant back. If you cut down 10 trees, at least try to plant back 3 to 4. So this is where the education and the advocacy comes in. We got to do projects. We could probably start planting back trees by the side of the road or something where we see that trees used to be abundantly at one time, but there's no more. Plant trees that is going to be there to give us shade and to do everything. And as I said, the environmental education. You ask a very important question. And I had that, in mind to talk about in the end. But you did ask it, environmental education is very important, both on the school level and through the communities. Because the reason why I say that it is vital to encourage the next generation to continue the work of environmental stewardship. Each and every one of us has to be a steward of the environment. So we have to bring that into play to let the young ones know that they're the next generation to continue to work. So it's a bridging the gap, the young and the old. School, community. Okay? So that's what we can do. And collectively, we all join into creating and supporting the community-led projects. Everybody should be hands on deck. We all supposed to be part, local communities. And another thing that is very important here in the United States, they do it certain place in Brooklyn, community gardens. Probably we could start introducing community gardens home. I know some people don't want to be gardening, but some people love to do the garden. If there's a plot of land that is just laying waste and abandoned, probably find out who does that belong to. Get to the owner. If there's no owner, probably ask the government, okay, I think this is a good initiative for us to have a community garden so we could go and work there, plant our stuff. And not even that. At the end of the day, you sell the produce from that community garden and you get a little money in your pocket. And I am the waste recycling. I'm not too sure how much it is there, because when I seen that they would come and pick up stuff twice a week. But all of these things are way to help to and developing sustainable tourism model to let our visitors know you cannot throw your stuff here, you cannot do this. So we have to start introducing things that is going to empower our local communities with the knowledge and the resources that is needed and that is key. I'll repeat that. We have to find ways and means to empower our local communities with the knowledge and resources that is key to protect our environment for long-term successes. So that's one of the, and we cannot do it alone. We probably have to partner with other regional entities and corporation and governments and everything like that. You know, the Caribbean Development Bank, the Caribbean Community CARICOM, which I know CARICOM is doing a lot of work, but whatever regional entity that there is that come into play in leading the role to promoting collaborative solution. We need to partner with them, the government policies and global advocacies. So it's all a partnership, individual, communities, government. Every player must be part of this to promote the environmental protection, to make sure the government, I guess, and with policies to make sure regulations are put in place towards our waste management, our marine protection, and the sustainable development policies that is going to be effective and aligned with our regional and global environmental agreements. One of them is like the Paris Agreement, which is kind of laid the framework down for how we should go about. But as I said, we shouldn't just wait for that. We should find our own ways of enacting and enabling stuff that will help us. And, you know, as I said, the tourists is significant, but we also have to put things in place, encouraging eco-friendly accommodation at our hotels, practicing eco-friendly environments, and making sure everything is putting less impact on our environment. So these are some of the things that we are responsible for. We are all responsible individually, collectively, as a community, as a government, nationally, as regional. We all are responsible to put initiative or find initiative, come up with an initiative to support the conservation efforts, to support ways to reduce the carbon footprints and to invest in sustainable products and services. There's a lot of changes that had to take place, but not every change will be able to take place now, because as I said, financing, you have to have the funds to do that. But there's a saying back home, one lime full basket. Some people say one cocoa full basket. Whatever it is, that's what we have to do, because Rome wasn't built in a day. And now we have to start going into the green spaces, adapt the green society, making sure everything is green. So these are some of the things that we could do. And in concluding, I'm just going to say this, you know, the Caribbean, you know, we faces environmental challenges. We face environmental challenges a lot. Some of them are urgent need, and some are complex. But I think this is an opportunity now for the region. It's an incredible opportunity for the region to lead in that transition, because we have what it takes to lead in that transition for a sustainable future. We have what it takes. We could do it through our renewable energy adaptation, through our coastal protection of the ecosystem, through sustainable agriculture, and through waste management. We can put that into effect to protect our environment today for tomorrow. We have the natural resources, unlike some other country, which is dependent on something else. We have what you call natural. As I think it's Chuck that say, all we have is sun, water, and sand.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have the natural thing. As I said, we have the real McCoy.
Sure.
So we have to use what we have to make sure that we have a sustainable and a viable tomorrow. And when you say tomorrow, I'm not talking about tomorrow, next year after. I'm talking about 30 years from now.
Yeah.
So at an individual level, let us play our part. Folks, brothers and sisters, friends, we need to start thinking about ways we can reduce our environmental impact. We have to start becoming advocates for our environment, advocating for changes in your village, in your community. Start being the advocates. We all have to start being advocates to get initiatives, to get changes. Collectively, we have to work as a Caribbean nation. We have to work together regionally with governments and other agencies to promote how we go about with our tourist industry and our businesses, promoting sustainable practices in there, because all of this tying together. So ultimately, with all that being said, we have to be environmental stewards of the environment. And I cannot say or speak for the other countries, but I can say, let's start it. Let's start by being the top environmental stewards in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And if we start, other islands could see and they could copy what we're doing. Let us be the model. And then other countries could see and they could copy for us. Well, besides copy, we could probably use our information. You know, we give you this, you give us something. One and us the other. Banter. Back in the days, in the days of Africa, our forefathers and stuff, they used to banter. They used to trade. If you have corn and I have beans, we're gonna trade. I'll give you some beans, you give me some corn.
Yes.
Probably we have to go back to that. But we have to recognize the challenges that we face as small island nations with this global warming and this climate change. And while we are recognizing that challenges, we have to find ways of harnessing collectively the resources we have so that we can ensure that the future generation inherit a healthy and sustainable environment. I'll repeat that. Despite we recognizing the challenges that the small island nations face when it comes to climate change and global warming and the disasters that we get from hurricanes and storms, we have to come together collectively. We have to come together as one and harness the natural resources we have that will help us to ensure the future of our generations to come so that they will inherit a healthy and sustainable environment. And Mr. Coy, with that, I believe I come to the end of the 4-part series with you on climate change, environmental issues, global warming that affect our communities and our region, especially the Caribbean, particular Carriacou, Petit Martinique, and Grenada.
Well, and that's what we call, in your own words, doing what we need to do collectively, preparing ourselves, preparing today for tomorrow. Our actions today affect tomorrow, next week, and it affects the future. Well, Ms. Douglas, I really enjoyed your presentation today, and I want to ask you what other tools that you can direct us to so we can learn some more things about the importance of climate resilience and climate change as you know it.
Okay, so one of the tools that is readily available to everyone, the internet, Google. There's something called Chat GPT. You put in any question, any information you want, and then you get back a ton of responses. So that's one of the first place you can start utilizing your internet, Google. Just type in ways that I can make a difference towards sustainable climate change, or ways to change what I do to make sure that climate does not affect us. Whatever you want to find about climate change, global warming, better protection, whatever the issue, whatever the topic you want to find, utilize the internet and Google.
Okay.
And with that, you can find any answer, and then you could choose which aspect you want to use and utilize it and start working on it. So that's one ways that you could get information to make a change.
Yeah. Okay. Before you leave us, and we conclude this series of conversations on climate changes, and indeed the intention is, as was stated in the very beginning, that it is about protection of our environment. We have to, as you have said, collectively protect the environment. And so I have to ask you this question, because I see the issue of protecting the environment playing out clearly in this situation. You may be aware of a village on the eastern side of Carriacou, and a cemetery there called Thibault. And for years, this has been a cry, a concern of a lot of people, that literally, graves are floating in the water. And it is as a result of rising sea levels. Well, of course, one can say that it is as a result of where they decide to put the cemetery, but that's not the issue. The issue is that the evidence and the climate change impact is vividly seen. You pass there now, and it is really in the sea. And the thing is, it will continue to. What are your thoughts on that, Ms. Douglas?
Coy, you just opened a can of worms, or a Pandora box. You said that some might say where they put it, but I believe that that cemetery has historical information. Some of our slaves and peoples of slave origin might have been buried there because of the artifacts like Ningo Well and everything that is around that area. So chances are they could be buried there. But even to take it a little further, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather is buried there. My paternal great-grandfather is buried there. My paternal great-grandmother is buried there. And a whole host of relatives is buried there. So in other words, my father grandmother is buried there, my father grandfather is buried there, and my father's dad is buried there. And it hurt me so much. I remember before I migrated to the United States of America, before all this started happening, I was able to go and see my grandfather's grave, Philip Polido. I was able to see that, although he'd been buried years before, even before I was born, but I was able to recognize the name on the grave and the mark on the grave. And a little way from there, his father. So if I had gone back in the days when I was in Carriacou, I left to come to the US. If there was a funeral and the burial took place in Thibault, while they're doing the stuff, I will walk and go and visit my grandfather and great-grandfather's grave. I cannot, as of last year, when I was there, or the year before, I couldn't find anything because that part of it is gone. Those tombstones that are there, those graves that are there, is gone. I went there last year. I can't add anything. Now tell me if it is fair to me that I cannot visit where my ancestors are. Everybody could go to the cemetery and visit their loved ones, but I don't have that choice. Why? Because it was taken from me through the action of a few. So now it's like I don't have no identity because it has been washed out. And when I received the call and I was asked, they were doing this case that the government of Grenada and other places was doing against the bigger countries who are responsible for the global footprint and everything like that. And they wanted to find out of anybody who buried there. And I said, no, my entire generation is buried there. And I'm willing to be part of this caravan. So I met with Barrister Ray Thomas, who is former Prime Minister Tillman Thomas' daughter, via WhatsApp and so. And there was a gentleman, I believe he's located in Holland. He was the person, the advocate, the activist. They were bringing that case. And I had to write a statement, a personal statement, how I feel. And Coy, I went in. I let them know how I felt. It was not, I mean, they had to kind of filter some things. But I said, no, don't filter it. Let them know how angry I am. Angry I am. No one should be able to go. Everybody else, I'm sure, could go to visit their loved one at their final resting place. For many of us are from Carriacou, we cannot do that. And this is the situation that has been faced. So it's like, the life of our four parents or ancestors is not worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things where I took up the cause, coupled with doing environmental studies. And my professor encouraged me. He still wants me to get into that as a profession. So I'm still on the fence about that. But because of that Tebow issue, I'm passionate about it. And anytime anybody speaks about that issue, something just ignites in me. I don't know if you noticed, my face was like, when you started to talk about it, my face started to tighten up a bit and my stomach started to get those knots because I'm a direct victim of that Tebow.
Yes, yes. And I could understand, I see the passion, I see the impact. And indeed, one of the things that resulted in those things happening is the the waves coming into the land. And action was not taken promptly to mitigate against continuous rising sea levels. And I don't think it happened in 1 week or in 1 month. It must have happened over a period of time.
Yeah.
So,
but Coy, may I interject here a bit? We have to be, and I always said, I'm a person like to be fair, and I don't like to, I like to be partial. I don't like to take one side to the other. I stand in the middle. And if something is wrong, I'll tell you it's wrong. It could be my other half, it could be my siblings, whoever. If it's wrong, it's wrong. One of the things that also worsened the situation, the sand mining. Let's call a spade for what it is. The sand mining that was going on there, every time you remove the sand, what is going to happen is it lessens the land mass. So that gives the water room to come in. So those that were responsible for sand mining back in the days are guilty. And this is what I am saying with this talk we were having, our actions. What we do, we don't think we are contributors to the devastation and destruction of our society, of our community, of our world. But each and every one of us is or are guilty of that. So sand mining, besides the rising sea level, sand mining has a lot to do with it too. So we have to be fair.
What's your call to action? What is your call to action?
Well, I know they cannot do sand mining, although I understand people still try to go there, but I don't think they do use sand as much as before. It's not anymore. But one of the things when I look at it, I said they probably would have to erect some kind of wall retention to the area that is not, that can take that kind of construction, or put something in place to prevent more of the seawater encroaching on the land. They will have to get engineers and people in that field and in that way of mitigation and how to best, they probably put those baskets with those things in the wire stuff, the stones or the boulders, to like a back wall. Is that what you call it? Back wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably they would have
to
see wall or and then put that stuff to prevent, or put cement down or whatever it is. But that was cement because after the hurricane and everything, there were tomb floating. So, but this is not an issue that could be approached, just jump into it. A lot of planning, a lot of looking at what is going to be the advantage and the advantages of doing this. So it requires tangible thinking, tangible action. It's like a frail, it's like fragile.
Yes.
Because this is not an issue that could, because remember, it's an entire coastline that has been affected, because Tebow Cemetery goes way down. If you notice, if you start at one end and you look down, you will see how far there were tombs and graves. And this is what I keep saying. I believe there might be Africans, the slaves buried the wrong place. That might have been one of the burial ground that was used. So and besides that, I believe there might be some historical nature and value in connection with Tebow. But then we cannot get that data because the majority of the stuff are gone, and some might have been on Mac grave. But you could have tell there might have been something that would have said when such person died, and you could have been able to trace it. But I believe there is some historical aspect and information on Tebow. And I think that the present administration should try to get funding from somewhere to see if they could at least conserve what is left of that cemetery.
Okay. Well, I trust that it happens, and we all do. And let all listeners know, and especially those of you who are in Carriacou, that it is something that we should give some serious thought to, because we are seeing the very impact of climate change before our very eyes. And it affects all of us at some level. Okay? So let me say to you again how grateful I am and appreciative I am for you sharing. And I want us to use these platforms to really do the things that we are calling for. Education. That's what it's about.
Okay. And with that, you saying education, I just want to, I was trying to actually get the physical copy of the book I have somewhere around, but I can't lay my hand on it. But there's a book that was written and co-authored by a professor of mine from City University of New York, Medgar Evers, and another person. His name is Derek Skeet. He has a PhD in environmental science and research. And the other writer is Chris Andy Gray. So you go the name of the book is Solar Power for the Caribbean, Empowering Businesses and Homeowners with Reliable, Uninterrupted Electricity, even in the midst of a storm. So the name of the book is Solar Power for the Caribbean, Empowering Businesses and Homeowners with Reliable, Uninterrupted Electricity, even in the midst of a storm. And this book was co-authored and written by Derek Skete, and his name is spelled Dereckskete. And what's interesting, he is not too far from us in Grenada. He's actually from Trinidad and Tobago. And he got me to start thinking differently about the climate and getting this passion and want to be like an activist for our environment. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it properly, but this is what the book looks like. If you go on Amazon, I don't know if you could see it on my end, but if you go on Amazon, you might be able to see it. I don't know. I wish I had the book, but okay. Go on Amazon, and I could send you the link.
We can put the link at the end of this podcast.
Okay, I'll send it to you. Yes, but I encourage persons to go on Amazon and get that book. There's a PDF copy you can get if you don't want to get the hard copy. There's also a PDF copy you can get as well that you could read on your tablet, your desktop, your laptop. But it's a really good book. I read it, and it's a really good book. And on a standpoint for the Caribbean, I believe that everyone should read that book and implement what is in there, because it's going to be something that you're going to need, and it will come in handy in the long run. So again, this is by Derek Skete, spelled Derek, Dereckskete, and it's called Solar Power for the Caribbean. So I just wanted to leave that there. And I told him I was going to give him a little promo for his book. So I'm going to have to start collecting commission once that start happening. But no, that's beyond the point. That's beside the point. But I just want persons to get that book and read it, because it's good information, very good information that could be useful and adaptable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you again for those thoughts, those ideas, and we look forward to growing from out of these 4 discussions and conversations that we had looking at the environment. So, blessings to you.
Pleasure, Milton, and thank you for choosing Humble Me to go through this 4-part series. I mean, at first when you asked, I was like, oh boy, I wonder if I'm capable to do this. I'm not shy. I'm a person who always does public speaking and do all those things like that. So, but it's like, the timing, and again, I apologize, but it was a pleasure that I can impart. And from the responses from the first 2 parts, I was like, wow, impressed.
Yes.
So I'm impressed with myself. But honestly, Milton, thank you for asking me to do this. It means a lot, you asking me. That means probably something you saw, or probably through my talk, you've heard something and you're like, thought I was a perfect candidate for this to happen. Whatever was the reason, I greatly appreciate you giving me this platform to share the information that I was able to learn in my study. And now what I learned, I'm passing it on, because I believe that whatever you learn, it should not be just for yourself. You shouldn't keep it to yourself, but pass it on with others. So we all could be educated and edified on these issues. So my sincere thanks and gratitude to you.
I appreciate, and will continue to give platforms to advocates like yourself. That's what we are about: news, information, and activism. And And that's why, I don't think you want me to say why I chose you. I mean, I don't think it's
I
necessary.
don't know. I would love to hear the reason why.
The reason why?
Uh-huh.
Well, I have heard conversations with you before, and listening to you speak, and you can understand what's inside somebody's head by the way they speak. And I discovered that you are someone who loved the environment, and that you were studying, and that you were advancing in that area. And subsequent conversations, I said, that sounds good. In terms of the content, yes, and and I said, let me ask, and I did. I did the best thing, I think.
The Bible says, "Ask and you shall receive; seek and you shall find; knock and the door open."
Right. Precisely. I must say, I must say,
I want to thank Audrey for being so patient with us and doing the background work. It's much appreciated, and I appreciate it. And it was nice meeting you.
Well, I don't know if he will answer, but saying that this has just been a explosion, because a lot of things have been in our bowels, in our systems. We are seeing the things happening, and this is just an explosion, which is so real, and so that we can have a conversation as this live, talking about the things that we are doing and how we are doing it and why and so on. This is separate. I mean, did you say at some stage that this is going to be a different thing, a different to the norm?
Yes.
So the point is that, we have, follow the discussions that we had, and I have it. So it is different. And so I welcome that, and will always look for opportunities to advance knowledge and understanding. So that's it, Kenisha. Thanks again, and hats off to you. We'll connect at some other series. I think we have just started, and I welcome you.
Okay. My pleasure, and have a good one.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Welcome to Karaku, where traditions, culture, and connections meet. Conscious tours can provide an experience of a lifetime. Getting to know the people and their lifestyles. Visit historical sites. And the taste of a sumptuous local cooking. Enjoy the ride. With Conscious Tours, Karaku. Providing quality memories, special and complete weekend packages for up to 7 people are available. For reservations, call 1-473-407-4597. Conscious Tours, Karaku.
Thank you for joining the Optimist Show. Please let us know what you think by leaving a comment and giving us a thumbs up and subscribing, and of course spreading the word. You can always rely on the Optimist Show to deliver accurate information. And guess what? I'll see you on the next show. We shall run, and we shall grow stronger than before. We shall run, and we shall go further than you